So welcome to the Amsterdam Film Show. This week's new release that we're going to talk about is called Inherent Vice. So Paul Thomas Anderson, are you familiar with his work?
I'm relatively familiar. I've taken a look at some of his other films, Magnolia and The Master, and he's been getting a lot more critical acclaim recently. So this is, one of his latest films, and it's quite a light-hearted, seemingly romp into the 70s, but for me it kind of felt like a balance between a film noir and a stoner movie.
It starts as a whodunit, but it's not really. Yes, it does start as a whodunit and a kind of mystery, like, this is going to happen, can we make it, can we stop it? And obviously the main character is Doc, he's a PI, so you feel like it's going on this kind of mystery kind of route, and then it kind of just turns into this character fest with different caricatures coming in and out, and it's less about finding out. You almost don't care at all what happens. It's just watching the drama unfold, and then by the end of it you're like, how did this story start again? It's kind of.
Yeah, you get lost in a lot of the cameo roles. You go, oh, I know that person. That's really interesting. And look what they're doing there. Yeah, and the set, I think, worked really, really well. It wasn't overbearingly 70s, in-your-face period shot. It was quite subtle. The music that they used helped illustrate the point without being over the top. It all worked really, really well together.
Not too showy like in the other 70s film that we had last year, American Hustle. Not at all like that. It was a lot. It wasn't too much. There wasn't too much polish. Like, people didn't look that attractive, did they? Really?
No. Yeah, they felt quite real.
Yeah.
And quite out of their mind. Well, it had a very, very dense plot and was very interesting to follow, and needed 2.5 hours to unpack that plot. It still felt like a very long movie. Not the kind of thing that one would, by any means, go to without some preparation.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't get all of it, hardly at all. Probably even just 50% of the movie went over my head. But saying that, because of the characterizations, the humour throughout, there's still a lot of energy, lots of interesting things to watch. I don't feel bad that I didn't get 50% of it.
Yeah, there were great moments, but I found there were also a couple of really troubling moments. There's one sex scene, for instance, in the film that felt gratuitous and completely unnecessary, and quite frankly violent, and that made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. And I imagine certainly women in the audience may feel equally uncomfortable. It was something that I would have put, if I was blogging about it, I would say I put a warning on this as a trigger alert for people who'd previously been raped or been in abusive relationships, because I think there is a problem with that filming. And
the women in it were quite kind of subservient, really.
It was a very 70s portrayal of women, and so I understand that they were trying to do justice to that point in time, but I wonder what it means for audiences today. What is the point of the continued portrayal of the 70s, which one thinks Bond girls and the subservient role, Stepford Wives, that sort of filming? Do we still need it? What is the point of having those kind of depictions in here?
Yeah, what's the message to the audience, apart from it being a good story that he wanted to tell? Obviously he's based it on Thomas Pynchon's work. You just feel, what's the point with some of these things? Although you feel like, is it just an obsession of the directors that they're, of that age, that they want to cover that era?
Yeah, and it is a fun era. It kind of felt to me like a mix between a very classic 70s film Blow Up, sort of the same mystery, but also leaves you feeling, what was the purpose of this? And don't get me wrong, this was a lot more fun than Blow Up. It was really enjoyable to watch, but it didn't leave me with any lasting impression, aside from that was really well filmed, and yes, that was great acting on behalf of Joaquin Phoenix and some of the other leads, but yeah.
You're right. What for the characters and the cameos, very skillfully done. I think that's what I enjoyed most about it. I think another plus point is that perhaps I don't have to go away and read a Thomas Pynchon novel. I feel like I'm aware of that because they're quite big novels. So as a reader, I feel like I've ticked that box. Yeah, and I also felt it's a bit like Wes Anderson in some places, which is so super weird when you think of Paul Thomas Anderson's other work.
Yeah.
Maybe that was because Owen Wilson popped his head up.
Possibly.
So overall, what kind of person do you think would like this movie?
I would have recommended it to, I apologise for saying this, to stoners. It definitely does have a stoner movie quality. It's an adult movie, and I think if you'd lived through the 70s, certainly if you were even a teen or in your 20s, this might feel very nostalgic and very interesting. It's an interesting depiction of that particular time, but otherwise it's just fluffy fun.